Hi, this is an introduction to Module 15 Lab, the relative humidity and dew point. You will need the thermometer for this lab and a little piece of cotton cloth that you are going to wrap the bulb with and then tape it securely so it doesn't go anywhere. Once you've done that, place a fan in front of the thermometer and let it go for 5 minutes. While the fan is going, when you start the fan, start to notice the temperature and record it every 30 seconds. So have a table and record the temperature every 30 seconds until the 5 minutes are up. Once that's done, dip that cloth in water, so dampen it, and repeat the same thing with the fan for 5 minutes, taking measurements every 30 seconds until the 5 minutes are up. Once that's done, you are going to repeat this same exact thing with the dry and the wet, but outside. So you do it inside, indoors, and outdoors. And you will keep noting the temperature every 30 seconds till the 5 minutes are up. Note that the temperature has to be in degrees Celsius and not in Fahrenheit. So even if you make the measurements in Fahrenheit, you would have to convert them to Celsius or it's not going to work. So I would just suggest that your thermometers are in degrees Celsius. So report them in degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Then what you're going to do is go to the lab instructions, and there's a link there to a table, and you're going to figure out the relative humidity from the table. For that, you will need the dry temperature, so the temperature of the dry bulb, and the temperature of the wet bulb. Once it reaches the equilibrium and it's not changing anymore. So don't report all of those temperatures that you took every 30 seconds. But once the 5 minutes are up that the temperature is not changing anymore, that's the temperature that you need to take. And then you do the difference. So the temperature of the dry bulb minus the temperature of the wet bulb. You will then go to this table. On the right or the left hand side, there's a column with the wet or the dry bulb temperatures, and then across there's the differences between dry minus wet. So what you're going to do is figure out where they intersect, and that will be the relative humidity for yourself inside and outside. I'm going to give you an example. So let's assume that your indoor dry bulb temperature was 15 degrees Celsius and the wet bulb was 10 degrees Celsius. So you're going to find the difference between the two. 15 degrees minus 10 is 5 degrees Celsius. So then what you're going to do, you're going to look at the table. You're going to find a column with the dry bulb temperatures, find where it's 15 degrees, and you're going to go across, and then up at the top, find 5 degrees, because that's the difference between the dry and the wet. For this example, 15 minus 10 is 5. So find 5 degrees and come down, and where the 15 and the 5 meet, that will be the relative humidity for your experiment. You will have 2 different relative humidities to report, the inside and the outside. And then go to weatherbug.com or another weather-related website, and you can find the relative humidity for where you live at the time that you did the outside procedure. Then the last part of the experiment is the dew point. You're going to take your thermometer again and you're going to tape it to a tin can. Tape it securely, but make sure that the bulb is actually not at the very bottom, but it's by the side of the can so you can measure the temperature. And you're going to fill the can with a slushie made with water and ice and a teaspoon of salt. and that is going to form, so dew is going to form on the outside of the tin, and you're going to note the temperature when the dew appears. That's going to be the first temperature that you note. Once the dew appears on the outside, be very careful, dump out the slushy and allow the dew to disappear. Once the dew has disappeared, you note the temperature one more time and record it in the table. Then you take the difference, or the average between the two, and the average is basically you add them up and then you divide that number by 2 because you only have 2 temperatures, and that is going to be the approximate dew point for your experiment. Then don't forget to include the graphs. Most students forget to include the graphs, but you will have basically 4 graphs. You will have 2 dry bulb graphs, the inside and the outside, and 2 wet bulb graphs, the inside and the outside. And you can mix and match. You can put the 2 inside graphs together and the 2 outside graphs together, or you can put the dry bulb inside outside together and the wet bulbs inside outside together. It's up to you how you do it. Just make sure that you label it very well so that I can tell which one is which. As always, if you have any questions, you can let me know and I will do my best to help you and to guide you in the right direction. Thank you.